2 days before the premiere of the 4th season of The Boys, showrunner Eric Kripke announced that the series would end after its 5th season. This was apparently always the plan, but Kripke had to be cagey till he got the okay from Vought, presumably referring to Amazon using the name of the company from the show. During the 2nd season, he admitted that he imagined The Boys would run 5 seasons total, although he would later state that he had stopped predicting how many seasons these shows go.
My last show, Supernatural, I said 5 seasons for sure, and then that went 15.
In interviews around the announcement of the show's ending, Kripke confessed that the production team had set the 5-year marker around the point that they started to work on the 3rd season. All of this puts the 4th season of The Boys in an interesting position. Kripke's tweet suggests that though the production team had wanted to wrap up after 5 seasons, they only got the approval from Amazon after they'd wrapped on production of this 4th season. This isn't a surprise. The 4th season of The Boys, which wraps this week, feels like the show working through these competing impulses. The understanding that all good things must come to an end, and the corporate urge to wring every last bit of value from an existing intellectual property. After all, there's a reason why many classic broadcast television shows ended on weak seasons, from Miami Vice
Bet this has got quite a kick to it.
to The X-Files.
Oh yeah, dudes! Welcome to your dumbass show. I am Sky Commander Winky.
In the past, television shows didn't end because it made sense or because the production team had run out of ideas. They ended because they'd lost enough viewers and become so expensive that it was no longer profitable to produce them. This is how you end up with, say, a final season of Star Trek The Next Generation where, Worf eats a dude and nobody ever talks about it.
I was hungry.
Where Data engages in some light cultural appropriation.
I do not hear you.
And where Beverly Crusher has intimate relations with a candle.
A very unusual relationship.
So, this week we're going to talk about the 4th season of The Boys. How it's largely about that tension. It's a show that wants to end on its own terms, but is afraid that it's too successful to be allowed to. As such, we will be talking about every episode of the season that has aired so far. If you're watching and haven't caught up, you can pause and come back when you're ready. You still there? Super. This season sees the return of Hugh Campbell Sr., the father of protagonist Hughie Campbell Jr. While Hugh had appeared briefly in the 3rd season premiere, he hasn't been a significant part of the show since the early 1st season. In this 4th season premiere, Hugh suffers a stroke that has left him brain dead, forcing Hughie to confront his father's mortality. This is especially charged given that Peg was a major influence on the original comic book design of Hughie, and that Boys showrunner Eric Kripke recently lost his own father, Larry, to whom the entire 4th season is dedicated. However, Hugh isn't Hughie's only father figure who finds himself facing mortality. Following his abuse of the drug Compound V during the 3rd season, William Billy Butcher has also been given a terminal diagnosis. He has less than 1 year to live. He has to put his affairs in order, including repairing his damaged relationship with Ryan, the son of Butcher's deceased wife Becca, which was conceived through Homelander's sexual assault of her. Even characters who aren't confronting their mortality find themselves trying to move forward with their lives. Kimiko is going to therapy, struggling with the need to confront her traumatic past. Annie January attempts to reinvent herself as a philanthropist, distancing herself from her time as the superhero Starlight. Frenchie engages in a love affair with Colin, a man whose family he murdered years ago. Even Homelander himself struggles with aging. Much more than the criminal trial over his murder of a protester at the end of the 3rd season, Homelander seems perturbed by the fact that his hair is going gray.
Your stylist is dyeing your hair more often. It used to be every month, now it's every 2.4 weeks, and you're enlarged prostate.
My fucking what?
You got a lot of power, but you do age.
Even superheroes cannot escape the ravages of time. In the season's 4th episode, Homelander pays a visit to the team that helped raise him, reconciling with fatherhood in his own way. It goes about as well as one might expect. All the best superheroes have daddy issues. However, Homelander faces a more abstract sort of midlife crisis than the mortality concerns facing Hughie or Butcher. After all, Homelander has it all. He has seized control of Vought Industries. He escapes conviction early in the season. He has sole custody of his biological son. His enemies are in disarray. Even the election of Democratic President Robert Singer doesn't bother him too much. The status quo will be maintained.
Even with a soft on crime fucking libtard for a president, it's gonna be business as usual. At Vought.
It feels like The Boys is being self-reflective here. The show was always among one of Amazon's more popular shows, to the point that it represents a challenge to Netflix's dominance of the streaming space. However, in recent years, it has evolved into its own franchise. Shortly before the release of the show's third season, it premiered a selection of animated shorts known as Diabolical. Between its third and fourth seasons, it launched the live-action spin-off Gen V. The Boys has conquered the world.
So I spent the last year really slowing down and reconnecting with myself. And I am very excited for everyone to meet the real me.
Paradoxically, the show has also reached what feels like a terminal point for a streaming series. Most modern streaming shows tend to run about 3 seasons for reasons that we really don't have time to get into here. Naturally then, the 4th season finds The Boys at a crossroads. It's caught between life and death, paradoxically at the peak of its popularity, but also at a point where a popular show like this needs to begin considering wrapping things up before transforming into a lifeless husk, a shell of its former self. How many truly great shows run forever? And how many squander their legacy by running too long? In the season premiere, Butcher argues that there's dignity in accepting one's death.
Quick lights out. Better than the alternative. Sitting there, stewing in your mistakes.
Later in the season, Yui's decision to shoot his father up with a super steroid rather than letting him pass gracefully turns his father into a monstrous zombie. For his part, Butcher is literally haunted by the ghost of his own dead father figure, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, whose work on The Walking Dead makes him the patron saint of modern genre television shows running too long.
Pass the rolls. Please.
And who is revealed as a ghost in an obvious homage to his work on Grey's Anatomy.
Sorry I died.
No, you don't get to apologize for dying.
Another show that, well, I can't say it ran too damn long because it's still running. How many seasons? Although his circumstances are very different from those of Huey and Butcher, Homelander finds himself stuck in a similar cycle. He is incapable of failing, and so there is no risk.
Not one of you has the stomach to challenge anything I say.
For all that The Boys has built a reputation on being provocative and transgressive, as much as it's the rare show to engage with the modern spectacle of politics in America,
Everyone remain calm. You're all very special people. Stop it.
there are inevitably limits. The show can only go so far before it begins repeating itself. Characters fall into familiar patterns and routines, something that they themselves acknowledge.
I think you're about to fuck over Huey again, and it's going to blow up in your face again.
In the 4th season, there's a recurring subplot about the new superhero cast in the role of Black Noir, replacing a hero that Homelander killed the previous season.
I just feel like I'm not getting clear direction for this role.
This new cast member has a whole new set of skills that are entirely different from those of Noir, but he's stuck pretending to be a dead guy to maintain the illusion of continuity.
I can fly, did you know that?
Yeah, dude, we all know that.
Homelander's first impulse when reacting to his boredom is to instruct the Deep to perform oral sex on A-Train, essentially repeating the abuse that Annie suffered at the end of the very first episode.
Sex is just a spectrum, right, bro?
Get off your fucking knees.
In its 4th season, The Boys seems to make an argument that it needs to end. It is both Butcher and Homelander. It is caught between the desire to go out on its own terms and the understanding that there's a corporate impulse to keep running in place for as long as it can be successful. That psychodrama animates so much of the character and thematic concerns of the season. Fittingly, these contradictory impulses yield contradictory results. These wrestling ideas are equal parts fascinating and frustrating. It feels like the show is marking time, even as it works through its issues. In its 4th season, The Boys understands that it could easily get caught in a holding pattern, but that perhaps it's time to finally grow up. Luckily, we know that the production team has made the right choice. But it's still interesting to see that decision process worked into the drama of the show. I've been Darren Mooney, and this was The Backdrop.